evaluate the integral by making the given substitution. So we have the integral. Well, in the numerator, we have dt, which is the same thing as 1 dt. So keep that in mind. So you have 1 dt over the parentheses 1 minus 6t to the power of 4. In this case here, they're giving us the substitution where u is equal to 1 minus 6t. So the first thing we're going to do is write out what they told us u is. So we're going to say let u equal 1 minus 6t. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take the derivative of both sides. So the derivative of u, we're going to have du. The derivative of 1 is 0, and the derivative of negative 6t is negative 6 dt. Okay, so if you take a look up here, the only thing that we have that we can actually substitute other than what u is the dt. And we have dt here. So we have to figure out what do we need to do with this negative 6. So we're going to have to divide it both sides. So keep in mind that there's a 1 here, and then we're going to divide both sides by negative 6. And so therefore, we have negative 1/6 du, which is equal to dt. Okay, now let's go ahead and rewrite the original question. So we have the integral. So we have, remember, we have 1 in the numerator divided by 1 minus 6t to the 4th power, and that's times dt. So all I did was just rewrite that using just the commutative property of multiplication. So I just wrote the times dt over here, just so that you can see that this is a fraction. So now we're going to go ahead and then do our substitutions. So we know that 1 minus 6t is what we said u is equal to. So therefore we have 1 over u now to the 4th power. And then we also know that dt is equal to negative 1/6 du. So that's going to be times negative 1/6 du. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we can factor out any of the constants. So the constant in this case is negative 1/6. So we're going to factor out the constant, which is negative 1/6, and then times 1 over u to the 4th du. Okay? And now we want to rewrite this so that this has a negative exponent. So we have negative 1/6, and this now becomes u to the negative 4th du. And now we're going to take the antiderivative of u to the negative 4th. So we have negative 1/6 times, the antiderivative is going to be u to the negative 4 plus 1 over negative 4 plus 1. And again, since this is going to be a constant here, we have to write plus c. So let's go ahead and then finish this. So we have negative 1/6 times u to the negative 4 plus 1, which is negative 3, all over negative 4 plus 1, which is negative 3. Okay, so let's just rewrite this side here. Now keep in mind here that this entire thing is negative. So we know that this thing is negative, right? And so if it's negative, then that means that this negative times this negative is positive. So we have 1, positive 1. We know that we have 6 times 3, which is 18. And don't forget that c here. It's plus c. And then we have u times u to the negative 3 plus c. Now, u to the negative power 3 needs to be taken, in order for this to become a positive, we're going to then take the reciprocal of that. So this is going to be 1 over 18 times u to the positive 3 power plus c. And so now the next thing we want to do is now put in our substitution for u. So the substitution for u we know was 1 minus 6t. So therefore this is going to be equal to 1 over 18 times 1 minus 6t to the power of 3 plus c, and there is our result.